Hello, Math 8. So our next type of transformation is called a rotation, okay? We've done the easier two, in my opinion. Okay, a rotation gets a little bit more difficult, and that is it for level 2. Remember, the dilation, our fourth type, is actually level 3, so we'll be covering that later in the year. Okay, the first thing to remember is that a rotation still is not changing anything in terms of size, okay? If I had a Post-it like I had the other day where I got my points and whatnot, and if I were to turn it, okay, the size is not changing at all. So one thing you need to understand is it's not, I kind of hinted at this to one of the classes, but it's not just a spinning on the graph, okay? It's a turning of an image. Okay, you should write this down. Around. Okay, sometimes you'll see someone say about. Okay, around. I say around just because the about's kind of confusing. Around the origin. Okay, so what that means, lost my cursor. Okay, this means it needs to stay the same distance. Okay, so if it is, if we were to measure it like in inches or something like that, and it's 3 inches from the origin, let's say a point on it is 3 inches from the origin, okay, before the rotation, after the rotation, it better be still 3 inches from the origin because it's rotating around that. It's kind of like an orbit. And I know, the moon's orbit, the sun's orbit, blah, 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 or there's orbit around the sun and all that stuff. It's not an exact circle around it, but, okay, in this case it is, okay? It is perfect orbit around the origin, so it's going to stay the same distance, and it's just going to kind of turn around. So instead of just spinning like this, like you pretend my head's the origin, it's going to kind of do this, okay? It's going to orbit around. It's not just going to spin in place. It's going to turn around it like that, okay? Anyways, so steps to do this. Now, again, you're not going to have to necessarily do this on the test, but if you understand how to do the rotation yourself, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to actually do it, okay? So the step 1 is to rotate graph, okay? The direction stated. Okay, so if it says rotate 90 degrees clockwise, you will turn your page. Now, obviously, since you don't have paper, you can't do this, but guess what? Everyone can take their Chromebook and turn it sideways. Okay, you should know, some of you even know how to flip your screen. Okay, I'm not going to go into that detail, but some of you know how to rotate your screen physically in front of you and turn it. Okay, but you're going to rotate in the stated direction. So if it says rotate 90 degrees clockwise, you rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. Now, realize, I should have probably wrote this down somewhere. Okay, 90 degrees is one turn. Okay, 180 degrees is 2 turns. Okay, it makes it pretty simple. I'm actually going to move this over. Make sure you're, again, realize that you're writing this down so you know what we're talking about here. Okay, so 180 degrees is 2 turns, and then 270 degrees is 3 turns. Okay, I apologize, my handwriting's sloppy on this thing. I haven't used it forever. Okay, so back to our steps. Rotate the direction stated. The next thing you do is you're going to write down the points. Okay, so if you got a point A, you rotate it and you find where A is at. Now, when you rotate it, your graph is now like a new graph. There's a new XY coordinate, which we'll talk about when we do the example. Okay, but you're going to write down the points. 3, you're going to rotate the graph back to, I'm just going to say regular. Okay, what I mean by regular is rotate it back to how it looks like, normal, straight up and down, whatever you want to call it. And then step 4 is you're going to plot the points. Okay, take a second, pause the video if you need to write these steps down still. And we're going to move on to the example. So here we go. Okay, rotate the image clockwise 90 degrees. Now, if you don't know which way clockwise is, if you are sitting in my room, look at the clock over there. Okay, look at it. The clockwise is the way it's going. Don't watch me because I'm backwards here. Okay, the clockwise is the way the arrow is going. Counterclockwise is the opposite way. Okay, if you don't know, well, Google it then. Okay, but anyways, rotate image clockwise 90 degrees. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. That's one turn. Clockwise is this way. Okay, it's going clockwise is this way. Okay, so one turn clockwise. So one turn clockwise would be here. Okay, and then I'm going to write down those points. Now, these are your new points. So technically, this is A prime. Okay, yeah, it's listed as A, but it's really A prime because this is going to be after the rotation. So X for A prime, we went right 1, so it's a positive 1. And we went up 4, so it's a positive 4. Okay, then we do the same thing for B prime and C prime. Okay, B prime, you went right 1 and up 1, so it's positive 1, 1. And for C prime, you went right 4, positive 4, up 1, so it's positive 1. Okay, that's step 2, writing down the points. Again, if at any point you need to pause the video, just pause the video. Step 3 is to rotate the graph back so it looks normal. Okay, and then the last step is you plot those points on your graph. Now, one thing I kind of talked about, I should have mentioned, but when I rotate this, I now have a new X and Y axis. My X axis is always horizontal. My Y axis is always vertical. Okay, so when I rotated it, my X axis is still horizontal. My Y axis is still vertical. Okay, and that's why we do that. Because when you rotate, technically it's changing axis. You don't need to technically know that, but that's what's happening. So we plot these points, 1, 4. So I'm going to go right 1 and up 4, plot a point. I'm going to label it A prime. 1, 1, right 1, up 1. We'll label that B prime. And then 4, 1, so I'm going to go right 4, up 1. Now I'm going to label that C prime. Okay, and then you will notice, I'm going to draw some lines here. You'll notice we have our same triangle. Okay, it is just rotated around the graph. Did I do that right? Oh, no, it's 4, 2. C is 4, 2. Check that. I thought it looked funny. 4, 2. Delete. Everyone makes mistakes, right? Delete. Okay, so C prime is at 4, 2, 4, and then up 2. Plot a point. That looks better. C prime, and then we'll draw our lines again. And now you can see it's the same size triangle. Okay, and now it might look goofy. That's why I said rotations is a little bit difficult because you actually have to see that the image is turning, okay, around the graph. However, if you were to look at the picture we drew right now, it's not going to be perfect because the way this rotates isn't exactly centered, okay? But looking at where A prime, B prime, and C prime are, if I were to rotate the graph, okay, you look, A is up there. Well, if I rotate this back, look where A is at, okay? You can see it. Now, again, it's not centered, so it's not going to look perfect, but you can see how this is turning over. Like C is going to C prime, A is going to A prime, okay? And that's it. Step done, okay? So pause if you need to. And then what you're going to do, I'm going to pop up example 2 here. I want you to try it on your own, and then in class, we will go over it together, and then we'll do example C, and then we will be moving on. Okay, so that's it for this video. Go ahead and try this example 2. Okay, counterclockwise 270 degrees, and we will check it in class, and I'll see you.